Today is Monday, June 20th, 2022. Thought we'd do a real quick update of the garden and see how things are coming along. Our Chicago hardy fig tree is grown to about 6 feet tall and has quite a few figs on it. So looking forward to trying those. The garden has definitely reached what I call the jungle stage. Lots of mature growth. Our tomato plants are now almost 7, going toward 8 feet tall, except of course the dwarf ones. But even those are getting to be about 3 to 4 feet tall, which is about the maximum height. We picked the last of our top crop beans this morning, and we'll be doing a succession planting in the spot there. But here are the top crop beans we picked this morning. Got a nice bucket full. Some of our brassicas have bolted, but oftentimes I'll leave those in the garden for the pollinators. And it's also a nice flower, to be honest. And we can also collect the seed later on. The yellow flower you see there is tatsoi that has bolted and flowering. Behind that's the eggplant. We're starting to get some blooms on the eggplant. Anise hyssop is what's growing beside it. Of course, we have our basil there, Thai basil, and all of our dwarf tomatoes. We do have a few green dwarf tomatoes forming, and those should be getting ripe probably in about, probably about a week and a half. Here you can see the dill has fallen down. So we have dill bouquets. We also have arugula that flowered, and that's spilling into the pathway. So it does get very jungly. The white flower that you see there that looks sort of carrot-like, or like Queen Anne's lace, that is actually, that is actually cilantro. And our borage has gotten really tall. I had to stake it. The bees absolutely love the borage. I'll be picking our jade beans later on this week. This is the second production or second picking of the jade beans, and they have quite a few. So we'll get pretty much probably about every 6 to 8 feet. We'll definitely get a large bucket full of beans, which is probably about a half a bushel. We did have some worm damage on our Catarina cabbages, but we took one of those last night and it was very good. They only get about 4 to 5 inches across. They're small cabbages, but they're very tasty and they grow quickly. This is the kind of damage that you see from a tomato hornworm. They eat the tips off of the tomato plant. It's pretty much my arch nemesis when it comes to tomatoes. I have actually not found this one yet, but I'm looking for him. When you find them, you just pluck them off and you can drown them or step on them. But you can also use a black light flashlight at night to try to find them. It helps distinguish them from the plant. We pulled the last of our snow peas just yesterday, and went ahead and pulled those vines out, and we'll plant something else in there, probably some cucumbers. The indeterminate tomatoes are doing really well. As you see, they're climbing up, way up out of the garden. They're far above my head now, pretty much as far as I can reach. The ones in the center there are the really good sun gold cherry tomatoes. And then the other two are the ones I'd mentioned before about being from the University of Florida research program that are now available, called Garden Gem and Garden Treasure. Collards coming along pretty nicely there. We pick the outer leaves and cook those and just let the plant continue growing. I also have started some seed trays just on the 15th of June, brassicas that'll be going in the garden for our fall planting. There in the background, we have our squash plants. Those have been producing really well. We have both the crookneck and the patty pan squash. And our peppers, I've gotten a few peppers, but they are just beginning to come in, other than the jalapenos. Those have been coming in for a while, but most of the peppers are just now starting to come in. So we'll do a quick pan of the garden here in all its woolliness. Here is a quick update on the figs. Just pan here for just a second, but you can see the basketball goal there and get an idea about how tall these are. Most of these figs are now between 6 and 7 feet tall. So I've been really amazed by the growth of these. I had no idea I would get this kind of growth, especially since these don't get any late afternoon sun. So maybe here in the hot, humid south of North Carolina, they actually need that break. I do know they oftentimes will look a little wilted toward the afternoon, and oftentimes I'm watering them twice a day, certainly in the morning, but sometimes also on a really hot 100-degree day in the afternoon, I'll water them a second time. Pardon the jet noise. We have a lot of jets taking off, and they don't always come across us, but sometimes they'll reroute traffic over us, and it looks like that's what we have this morning. And it's early, so a lot of people are going to work. Later in the day, it gets pretty quiet. You can see our beautiful pontoon boat there behind us. We're going to be trying to get rid of that this year. That was a project boat that just never quite worked out, so we need to get that out of here. But you can see the figs growing here alongside it. Those will be in sun in just a few more minutes, and they stay in sun pretty much until about 3:30 to 4 p.m. Those have grown extremely well. And then have a few more here that were started later, but they're coming along nicely, and all these need to be up potted. And that is pretty much all of the figs. Here in our no-till bed, our okra is coming in pretty good now. We've had a couple pickings of okra. That's been really good. And our Argent sweet corn is doing really well. We've got full tassel on most of that, and a lot of the ears are silking. And so we should be getting some sweet corn probably around the 4th of July, which will be about perfect. The location here for this sweet corn is not ideal. It actually does not receive what I would, well, it receives technically full sun, but it does not get sun all day. We probably get about 6.5 hours of sun, but we will be clearing some more of the trees behind there, and that will open it up, and we'll get sun probably in the 8-hour range, and I think the corn will do better. But it's actually done surprisingly well. It was kind of an experiment. I didn't know if it would make this year, but I wanted to try to go ahead and get something in the ground on this new plot. You can also see the drip irrigation we've run. We'll be tidying that up and working that into our irrigation system. Right now it's more temporary, but I've been happy with the sweet corn and looking forward to eating it here in July. The vine you see here is called a cushaw. Some people aren't familiar with those, but they really make good pies. Here's what the cushaw looks like. That'll get much bigger. It looks a lot like a giant gourd with pale green stripes. Sometimes they'll have some yellow on them. but they're really good. And here at the ends of our corn rows, we've just planted a few things that run. So we have some squash vines, zucchini vines. I also have a couple of types of melons that are sort of, I guess what you say, honeydew-like melons. And we also have a watermelon vine that will have probably a couple watermelons on that. And then our okra row, the red okra is called Jing Orange, and the okra there that's green on the other side of the row, that okra is called Jambalaya. And that's the update for the garden. Thanks for watching.